Dude, you know what time it is?
What?
We are late. The premiere of Echo Base Radio. We're late. We're supposed to be there.
No, it's part 2 of episode 2, Attack of the Clones. We gotta go.
Chili, punch the hyperdrive. Coming to you live, finally once again from the snowy dunes of Hoth. This is Echo Base Radio. I am your host, Green Geek 88, along with my cohort,
Blue Leader 99.
And on today's episode, we are going into part 2
of episode 2.
Of episode 2, Attack of the Clones.
The worst of the prequels.
Give or take the last 30 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah. So when we last left off, we were going back to Annie's hometown of Tatooine. Home planet, I should say. Yeah, and we get to meet back up with Watto again.
Chupidanoia!
Yeah. I mean, he lost all of his money from the pod race and everything, so he's kind of been... He's fallen on hard times, but I don't really feel bad for him.
Thanks, Annie.
Little Annie?
Little Annie!
It is you!
Jedi, what do you know?
And so, since Anakin's been having all of these bad premonitions about his mom, he asks Watto, hey, like, where's my mom? What happened to her? And he's like, she's no longer mine. I sold her. And he's like...
What?
Yeah, like, where is she? And he's like, oh, well, I sold her to someone named Lars on the other side of Mos Eisley, I think. And Anakin says, well, I'd like to know precisely. And he goes, sure, absolutely. After he tries to swindle him into saying, hey, maybe you could help me with some deadbeats who owe me a lot of money. And he's like,
I don't. Swindler, always a swindler.
Yeah, but he's like, I'm a Jedi, I don't do that stuff.
I'm not your slave anymore, Watto.
Yeah. So we go back to the people living out in the igloo in the desert.
The desert igloo.
I mean, it's fine. I know that there's some people out there who think that it was a mistake that we went back to Tatooine, but I like the connection. I think that we needed that familial connection for Anakin. And when you think about it, this is the only original trilogy planet that we go back to in the entire prequel trilogy, because even though we see Alderaan from space, we never saw the surface of it. So I think that George showed considerably good restraint in this area.
And going back, piggybacking off what you said about how detrimental this going back to Tatooine is to Anakin's story, and it's probably one of the most influential scenes regarding his turn.
Right.
Was the scene that's coming up where he goes into the Tusken Raider camp to find his mother, and unfortunately, she didn't make it. Luckily she made it out long enough to see her boy one more time, and that was a great moment. I think that was really well acted by the actress Shmi, and Hayden Christensen didn't do too bad as well. But I mean, that was really what kicked this whole thing off and kind of heightened the anger inside of him that fueled what he will later become.
Right. My only qualm with this is that I think that in order to sell it, I don't know if this was just Lucas wanting to, pull back on the violence and not wanting to show like a one-man genocide of an entire indigenous people or whatever, but I think that scene of him slaughtering an entire tribe of Tuskens, I think that we needed to see more of that.
Yeah.
Instead of just instead of just it cutting away at like after it starts.
Oh yeah, I'm definitely glad they showed it. You know what they did.
Right, right. But I think that it should have shown more.
Yeah.
Like you know, show more of his rage. I think that we would gotten. I think that we'll see what that could have been when we get to episode 3. If Lucas had gone, if Lucas had wanted to go with a PG-13 rating for this movie and see what that would have looked like, but I think that with this one, he probably wanted to hold back still and keep that PG rating, and you know, just keep it in that vein and not want to, show too much, try to just expose more through characters. But as we've stated last time, George is not someone who does well with actors. He's just better with visual and shorthand, and he excels in that. And I think that one of the pieces of dialogue that works very well is when Anakin gets back to the shed, and he's fixing something on the speeder, and he says, life is so much easier when you're fixing things. I've always been good at fixing things, but I couldn't this time. And that's when he starts to crack.
Yeah.
And I was rewatching that scene for this episode. While I was watching that, I was thinking, it's not exceptionally great dialogue, but there's just something there. If only someone could have helped Lucas. If someone could have taken that piece and just could have taken that, but instead we get I killed them all, and not just the men, but the women
and the
children too. They're like animals, and I slaughtered them like animals. I ate them.
And I also like what you said about the line about him fixing things, because that takes all the way back to episode 1, to where he was always obviously he's a gifted person. He built his own pod racer, but not only like physically fixing stuff, but he wanted to fix his mom's situation. He wanted to do all these things, and coming into contact with Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan, really opened up those doors. But with them, he's probably he's learned all these things training as a Jedi, but this is so heartbreaking because this is one situation where he couldn't make it better. He couldn't save his mom.
Right. But that whole mom thing they could have solved with just a few strokes of the lightsaber. They could have definitely set something up, or just taken her with them. But I understand that the Jedi are not the police force of the galaxy. They're the peacekeeping. They're the peacekeepers, but obviously that couldn't happen, and we need Anakin to become Darth Vader one way or the other. And I like how that little scene takes place in the little area where Luke is gonna clean up 3PO and R2D2. 20 years later?
Yep.
I like that.
This oil bath is gonna feel so refreshing.
Good. and it's like here's the mother and father in the place where the son is going to see the hologram of the daughter. It's just like, oh, okay, it's nice family.
It all comes together.
or like Lucas said, it's like poetry. It rhymes. So yeah, we. Oh, and this was also where we get reintroduced to C-3PO. He's got silver platings now.
Oh yeah,
he's not naked anymore.
My pots are showing. Oh dear.
What do you think about being introduced to Anakin's extended family, namely the Lars clan, who are going to take in young Luke when the time is right? But what do you think of all of that?
I mean, I liked it. I mean, it was a good little callback and set up for things to come in episode 4.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it was cool to see, Anakin's connection with them.
Mm-hmm.
And it also brings back to how, he knew a lot about his father.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, so... And yeah, that's also going to be significant later on for just just little pieces of dialogue later on down the road, like when Aunt Beru is going to be Luke's not a farmer, he has too much of his father in him, and he's like, that's what worries me.
Yeah.
Yeah, because do you think they knew what he did?
What, that Anakin became Vader?
Well, I mean, not that he became Vader, but do you think that they somehow found out that he killed an entire tribe of indigenous people?
I mean, that's probably something Anakin would probably keep to himself.
Mm-hmm.
Because you could, even though you could see the anger, you could also see the shame of what he did as well.
Yeah.
He after it happened, he wasn't happy about it. When you could tell that in his conversation with Padme. So
yeah.
I think that's something he'd probably try to keep close to the chest.
Yeah, and you would also, but you can't help but wonder, they would be like, it was just you. How did you manage to get out of there alive with her body?
Yeah.
And
Jedi.
And I just go with the Mr. Plinkett response. I don't know, maybe the Force told him. I don't know. But while all this is happening, Obi-Wan's tracking Jango to Geonosis, another desert planet.
Lucas loves those desert planets.
He sure does. This is the second of 4. No, 5 will eventually end up having.
Is there a theme of sand that's connecting all of these?
I don't know. Is there? Because I mean, just quick tangent, we're going to have... I mean, we already have Tatooine. We have Geonosis popping up in this movie. In The Force Awakens, we're going to have Jakku. In Rogue One, we're going to have Jeddah. And then in Rise of Skywalker, we're going to have whatever that Burning Man planet was.
Yeah.
I don't... We don't talk about that one.
Mustafar?
No.
The one at the very beginning where...
Yeah, but I'm talking about Burning Man, the one where they fly now happened.
Oh, that will, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I have no fucking freaking clue.
Freak that movie.
Freak that movie. Have you burned my copy yet?
Not yet.
So disappointed.
Well, But anyway, going back, Obi-Wan's tracking Jango Fett to Geonosis, and the one cool thing that I do want to mention about this little dogfight that they have is the seismic charges.
One of the greatest sounds in Star Wars history.
They did do this in the updated Star Tours, which I have experienced before.
I've run that one, yep.
Yes. That is fun. It's not as epic as it could have been, but beggars can't be choosers. But hey, at least we get it, and that's the fun thing. And Obi-Wan pulls a Boba Fett on the asteroid.
Right.
And I remember hearing someone say that apparently Boba Fett somehow saw that, and that's how he knew to do it to Han Solo in Empire.
If Boba saw that, why didn't he tell Jango and they swung back around? Makes no sense.
I don't know. Maybe the Force told him not to.
The Force is female, so
I don't know. The Force told him.
Or the Force is female, so they gave him bad directions.
I don't know, but no. It didn't happen. I discount it. Obi-Wan lands on this planet full of a bunch of like termite mounds that double as like homes and buildings and others. So it's basically like a primeval version of Coruscant, kind of. And inside one of these is like a giant droid factory. So, like, there's a bunch of battle droids being built. Obi-Wan doesn't know what this is all about. And he also sees an old man talking to the viceroy of the Trade Federation and a bunch of other different, costumed and CGI monstrosities at this table. This old man is Christopher Lee, and we find out,
A legend.
this is the Count Dooku guy that we were talking about earlier in the film, like an hour and a half ago. and so we find out that all of these people that he's gathered are other like mega corporations and guilds that have separated from the Republic and have decided to meld their resources together to build a giant droid army to, I guess, overthrow the Republic in one fell swoop or something, because they know that the Jedi Force is falling apart. They're like crumbling at the seams. Is this the plan? Do they not know about the clone army, even though Dooku is Sidious's apprentice and Sidious is playing both sides?
Well, I mean, if he's playing both sides, he wouldn't. It makes sense he wouldn't tell him about the clone army.
Why can't Christopher Lee just want to obviously break away from what is a failing society and want to do it with droids? I'm just going to echo now playing. That is a perfect legitimate question.
Well, we are headed that way as a society. The machines are taking over. We're getting closer to Judgment Day.
Yeah.
Every minute.
Yeah. Thanks, ChatGPT.
Yeah. Or Skynet, whatever you want to call it.
Whatever you want to call it. We find out that Christopher Lee has joined with these people because, we're going to overthrow the Republic. And so Obi-Wan sends a message to Anakin because his ship got damaged with his dogfight with Jango, and because he can't send it directly to Coruscant, he has to have another ship rerouted. So while he's sending this message, he gets attacked by droidicas, and he gets captured by Count Dooku, and he gets put in some sort of suspended float prison. That's kind of cool. And one thing that Dooku says to him that I've thought about, at one point Dooku says to him that, Qui-Gon would have joined up with Dooku if he had known about the corruption in the Senate. Which makes me think, if Dooku is really fully telling the truth, because Dooku and the Sith have always been they have a track record of being pretty honest.
Yeah.
Somewhat. The Jedi, there's the whole from a certain point of view thing, and so do you think that, if Dooku had said to Qui-Gon, hey, you should join me because, these Jedi are falling apart and all this other stuff, do you think Qui-Gon would have joined him, or do you think he would have, stuck to his moral code and would have been like, yes, I see the corruption, but I'm still going to, strictly follow the Force because, I see Qui-Gon as a Christian who's not following religious dogma, but is sticking strictly to I'm not going to listen to what a person says. I'm not going to listen to what a church says. I'm going to follow what God says, what the Bible says.
Well, and go back to your question. I think Qui-Gon would have been inclined to join Dooku given that offer, because, like you said, Qui-Gon has always been one to challenge the Jedi
Yeah.
on their codes, and because even when he was wanting to take Anakin as his apprentice, and they're like, no, you can't. He was like, okay, well, Obi-Wan's ready for the trial, so boom, I don't have an apprentice anymore. I take Anakin. And
They didn't stop him either.
no. And I've also read that a lot of people have considered Qui-Gon more of a gray Jedi.
Yeah, that concept's kind of iffy to me. I don't really know how that whole thing works.
Yeah, I think a lot of that is just based on the fact that he doesn't tend to strictly stick to the code like the rest of them do. Like, he does what he sees best in his eyes. Whether that lines up with the Jedi's dogma or not,
Yeah.
He's Liam Neeson. He doesn't need permission. He doesn't need to ask permission to do anything. He has a particular set of skills, and he will find you, and he will kill you.
Yes.
But yeah, but I also think once Qui-Gon found out who Dooku really was and who he was really working for,
Right.
that he would have kind of gone back on that.
Yeah.
And like he sees Dooku's point of view, but he knows he can't be in league with this guy because Dooku's in line with the Sith.
Right. and there's that whole rule of two thing. So I wonder if Dooku, by trying to persuade Obi-Wan to join him, I wonder if if he would have gotten Obi-Wan to join him, if they would have tried to take down Sidious together and would have just tried to go from there.
Well, and if you think about it, Qui-Gon was Dooku's apprentice at one point.
Yeah.
So he would probably be more inclined to hear Dooku out and know that, hey, okay, maybe this guy doesn't make a lot of sense, but there is some truth to what he's saying because I know him personally. I know how he thinks and works.
But why is the rule of two so important? Why can't they all just be friends?
Well, because you would think...
with Return of the Jedi, why can't the Emperor, Vader, and Luke all be friends?
Well, and it's got to suck for the Master because for the rule of two, that your apprentice is somehow going to try to kill you one day to take on his own apprentice.
Uh-huh.
And it's like, so you're constantly looking over your shoulder, waiting for that betrayal, knowing you've fully trained this person to kill you and take your place pretty much.
Especially if you're someone who's... power mad like Palpatine, who wants unlimited power.
And a lot of people think that that's why he put limitations on Anakin's suit. Like he could have fully restored him, like made him true to his true power.
Oh yeah.
But he purposely put him in the mechanical suit to be able to control him better, because he knew what Anakin was capable of.
Oh yeah.
And so he was like, well, let me seize this opportunity. Let me find a way to still have this powerful apprentice, but to also handicap him in a way that he can't try to overthrow me when the time comes. I can just short circuit his suit and be done with it. With my lightning.
Yeah, and the suit was also kind of necessary. So Anakin kind of became a walking double-edged sword.
And that's probably why Anakin could never do Force lightning.
Yeah,
because it would short out his suit.
Yeah.
Shut off his life support. You're done, homie.
Yeah, I mean he could withstand flames for a little bit, like in you've seen Scene 38 reimagined, right?
Yes.
The death. Yeah. Do you remember the scene? It's like right at the beginning, his suit catches fire for a little bit.
Yep.
So something like that. But yeah, we've seen his suit get short circuited, like when he threw Palpatine over the shaft.
Yeah.
That's basically how he died. Yep.
Look at you with my own eyes.
So the Jedi get the message. Anakin and Padme get the message. Mace Windu tells Anakin to stay on Tatooine, but on Coruscant,
he tells Anakin, "Stay in the cockpit." Pretty much.
Say what again?
Say what again? I dare you. I double dare you. Do they speak English or what?
That's that Tatooine fried shoki. I hear they make some pretty good fried shoki. So back on pretty quickly, just to get the plot in motion, on Coruscant, because they get the message, things kind of get set into motion really quickly. They're like, oh, Obi-Wan's in trouble, and we find out that the Separatists have a droid army. Oh, well, we also found out from Obi-Wan that they have a clone army. Well, we need to give emergency power to the Chancellor, but we don't have, enough votes in the Senate. And his aide is like, if only Senator Amidala were here. So it's kind of like, and then Lucas makes a point to show Jar Jar after that, and that's when Jar Jar gets his Dello Feligates to give emergency power to the Chancellor, and that's when he says, "My first act is to create a grand army of the Republic to counter the Separatists," and then that's when Sam Jackson goes, "I'm going to gather up all the Jedi that we have right here on the planet to go help Obi-Wan," and Yoda's like, "Well, while you do that, I'm going to go to Kamino and see what's up."
But see, here's the thing. Wouldn't the fact that Palpatine announced he was going to have a grand army, and with the fact that it correlates with them finding out that there was a clone army, wouldn't you think the Jedi could have put the two together and like, hold up, the math's not mathing. Like, we should dig deeper into this because the army shows up like that.
The dark side clouds everything. Remember, these are people who are falling apart. They're only a few years away from being extinguished.
Jedis are kind of dumbasses, dude.
They are. They are.
I don't believe the Sith could return without us knowing.
Hard to see the dark side is. Puppet Yoda.
A crackhead Yoda.
With jaundice and an overbite before they digitally replaced him for the Blu-ray. Looks so much better on the Blu-ray. But anyway, anywho, they hold a funeral for Shmi on Tatooine, and then after they get the message, Padme's like, oh, Geonosis is basically right next door, and she says, all right, well, I'm going to go and help Obi-Wan, so if you plan on helping me, then you're just going to have to come along.
And he's like, all right.
And somehow C-3PO is along for the ride for some reason. Sure. Because toys, I guess. Toys. Okay. You gotta have the new model, because you had the episode 4 with the gold platings. Then you had the naked episode 1 model. Now you have to have
the silver model.
The silver model.
The Armor Mark 1.
But then again, you're going to have the silver episode. The gold episode 3 model. Which I mean, he got gold platings in between episodes 2 and 3 in the Clone Wars, which you still have not yet seen, right? The original Clone Wars.
No.
There's a scene. Yeah. There's a scene where Anakin and Padme do like this little weird secret rendezvous, and C-3PO meets up with them, and Anakin looks at him and he's like, "You look different," because C-3PO is wearing a robe, and he's like, oh, it must be this disguise, and Padme goes, "No, 3PO, it's your new it's your new gold platings," and Anakin goes, "Well, let me see him," and he goes, "What, here now in this neighborhood?" And he goes, "Well, if you wish," and he undoes the robe like this, and they start playing. They literally start playing this type music, and Anakin goes, "Impressive, most impressive," and C-3PO goes, "Yes, I do quite fancy it myself." That was the canon before the 2008 Dave Filoni led series.
I love it. I need to watch it.
We will after we're done with this. Just that part. When we get to Geonosis, we get that weird video game sequence in the droid factory, which I hate. I don't like it.
Cut that out.
They could have. That was all reshoots. and I don't like it. R2-D2 knows which VAP she's in. Those rockets were originally part of a deleted scene from episode 1 where he was supposed to have fallen off the landing platform and then just like risen back up for some reason with those rockets. Because toys, I guess.
Yeah.
Anakin gets his lightsaber destroyed. The only thing that's kind of that's funny, well, there's two funny things. The C-3PO stuff is overload, but I like it when he first sees it and he's kind of shocked.
I'll be right back. Hyperdrive, Chewie! Good. Go
Okay.
back in for landing. So they did that scene so they could make the toys.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, you actually have it.
So it was in a 2-pack with the Super Battle Droid, and that was the only way you can get the Super Battle Droid. So.
Well, I had a Super Battle Droid and that didn't come with it.
Well, this is new. This is the Black Series.
I don't buy the Black Series. I don't give my money to Disney.
Oh my.
Except for when I went to go see episode 1 a few months ago.
I know, I went with you.
But anyway, I do like it when he first sees the droid factory and he's shocked and he goes, "Machines making machines, how perverse." And then that whole thing with the battle droid's head getting on his body and then his head getting on the battle droid's body. That's funny. Die, Jedi dogs! Like, you know.
Oh, what am I saying?
Yeah, like I mean, that stuff in the factory was funny, but then we get the kiss and Padme's confession of love, which doesn't make any sense because she says, "I've been dying a bit each day since you came back into my life." Doesn't that mean that you hate seeing him?
If you want to take it literally.
It's dumb. No one says it spontaneously.
No.
No one says these words in a organic manner.
And George Lucas does.
I mean,
Or
I
That
guess.
sounds pretty good. It does.
I guess. Okay, but now we saved the best for last. I'll let you start. This is the best part of the movie. We're in this giant arena, so let's start.
All right. So, Anakin and Padme are willed out to their death into this Geonosis arena. And who do they see also chained up to one of the poles? Their good buddy Obi-Wan!
Obi-Wan!
Yeah. So, Obi-Wan, he sees Padme and Anakin come rolling out. He's like, "Well, fancy meeting you here." And so they chain Anakin and Padme up to their respective, I guess they're doing this arena death scene.
Yeah.
And then they unleash these 3 beast
Yeah.
type
These 3
looking
beasts.
things. There's
Yeah.
a spider looking thing.
Yeah.
Like a rhinoceros dog. And
Some giant porcupine cat.
yeah, that one.
Yeah.
So yeah, they release the beast upon them. And then, of course, our heroes find a way to break free of their shackles. And then we get this elaborate action scene on the battleground of Geonosis. Anakin dons the rhinoceros.
He dons the rhinoceros.
He straddles the rhinoceros
Okay.
and proceeds to charge the battlefield.
Cool.
And we also get the scene where Padme is fighting the tiger thing with the chain.
Yeah.
And the tiger drags his claws into her back, and then we get that scratch.
Uh-huh.
That's pretty sick.
Which somehow makes her costume midriff.
Yeah. Oh,
Okay.
that was for us. Eye candy. I enjoyed it.
I had the toy.
I did too. It's in there.
I had the toy. Okay, and Obi-Wan gets a spear against that crab.
Yeah. So yeah, so they take down the 3 animals, and then Dooku arrives.
Now, he's already there. He's up in the private box with the Archduke
Yeah, he
and
steps out.
the Viceroy.
Yep, and reveals himself to them.
What do you mean? He's already up there. Don't you mean Mace Windu? You said Dooku.
That one. I said what I said.
Windu, Dooku, they're all the same.
Some ooze.
This party's over. I remember my whole theater erupted in applause when he stepped out.
Yeah.
And we see a purple lightsaber. The very first one.
I have a fun fact about the purple lightsaber.
Mm-hmm.
So, when they were doing the, I actually think it was the episode 1 figures.
Mm-hmm.
The Power of the Force figures. So, this was back before episode 2. So, Mace Windu didn't have his purple lightsaber yet. That was not a thing. So, the action figure of Mace Windu actually came with a blue lightsaber.
Yep.
And then Kiadi Mundi, remember him, the Jedi Council member, the Conehead?
Yeah.
So he
the fish guy.
Yes. So he actually came with a purple lightsaber.
What?
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah. His figure came with, for some reason, it came with a purple lightsaber.
And I remember Mace Windu had a blue lightsaber on the cover of that video game Jedi Power Battles too, for some odd reason.
I remember that.
I don't understand all this stuff. I don't understand it.
I guess they were like, oh, well, purple lightsaber sounds pretty cool. Sure, let's do that.
You know that Samuel L. Jackson asked for the purple lightsaber.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And so George Lucas just gave it to him. And of course, I heard that there were debates saying, like, oh, it's purple. It's a cross between blue and red. Is he part Sith or something? No, people, just stop.
Didn't he have? Didn't Sam Jackson end up having BMF engraved on his lightsaber hilt?
I heard something like that.
Yeah, which seems like a Sam Jackson thing to do.
You know that it would have been on the bottom and you wouldn't have seen it, though.
Oh, yeah.
But still, you know that's a Sam Jackson thing. That's like something that you would have heard about on like a Star Wars iceberg video or something. So he shows up, and so do a whole bunch of Jedi, and they all storm the arena, and a whole bunch of battle droids also show up, and they have this big, huge fight. Yeah, this big, huge fight. There's battle droids getting slaughtered wholesale, and Jedi are falling down, and the big rhino gets killed, and we also have our first Star Wars beheading because during this whole thing, Jango Fett flies down into the arena and starts shooting at Mace Windu, and Mace Windu cuts his head off. And it's witnessed by his young clone son.
No!
And what's this thing you have in your hand?
So, go back to the purple lightsaber for Kiadi. I found
Oh my gosh.
my original Power of the Force Kiadi with...
That's not a Power of the Force line, though. It's just episode 1.
It's same Hasbro.
Okay, well, Hasbro, but it's not the Power of the Force line. It's the
the same.
Comtech episode 1.
So, as you can see,
Wizard.
is the purple lightsaber. And on the back, it's cool. That's Mace Windu
The blue.
with the blue lightsaber.
So stupid.
What are you doing, George?
This thing is so stupid. Colors of lightsabers. This is what we get into. This is the minutia that we debate and get into arguments over. But anyway, bunch of Jedi die. The numbers are too overwhelming. C-3PO's head gets blown off and gets put back onto his own body.
And this scene is really great because, this is the largest Jedi battle that we have seen this far in Star Wars. And just seeing that many Jedi fighting in one place, that was something to behold.
Mm-hmm. And I love Kit Fisto's smile.
Dude, Kit Fisto's a man. He went down like a little...
He has his own special episode of the original Clone Wars where he leads an underwater...
Wasn't he like shirtless in that series?
Yes.
I remember seeing that.
Yes, and that one thing, he led an underwater assault with Mon Calamari troops against like a separatist faction underwater,
Nice.
like destroyed a giant cannon. It was awesome. And after he destroyed the cannon, he looked down into the ravine where it fell and exploded, and he went,
Yes.
It was great.
A man of few words, but knows how to get the job done.
Yeah. He literally took off his robe and was shirtless in front of a bunch of clones on deck, and then he jumped into the water and caught his lightsaber midair and jumped into the ocean. And then a bunch of clones followed him in with like a bunch of with all their tanks, and he's just like, screw you, I can hold my breath and all this other crap. But yeah, you're right. This was like the largest like coming together of Jedi that we've ever seen up until this point. That was even one of the pieces of marketing. I remember seeing, it was either like a poster or just like even in a newspaper, there was like a picture that was like advertising this film that had the logo, but it was like Yoda with his lightsaber, and like behind him on a hill, all it was just shadows or silhouettes, and all you saw were like the blades of like lightsabers.
I remember that.
You remember that? There was also one of Jango holding up his guns at the audience, and behind him were a bunch of clones.
Yep.
Yeah. So we have a bunch of casualties, but then here come the clones.
Come the cavalry, Yoda saving the day.
Mm-hmm. And their little Death Star bubbles on those gunships, causing even more death and mayhem and destruction. And
concentrate all firepower on that gunship.
Yep. They fly out of there, and they just leave the little kid behind with the head of his dad. He just like
the origin story, the villain origin story, right there.
Right there. I mean, we don't need anything else. It's like, also this is what caused him to become the bounty hunter that we know and love today.
Bubba.
Caused him to punch his way out of the Sarlacc. Wasn't going to go down like that.
Nope.
I'm sorry. Boba Fett, where is he?
Boba Fett, where?
So they fly out, and there's already a battle going on. There's already a huge battle going on. They got the command center up, and all the separatists are trying to flee, and Count Dooku is just as surprised as we are. He's like, how could the Jedi have come up with an army so quickly? But, oh, wait a minute. We aren't surprised. We already saw these clones. And while they're confused and fleeing, the Archduke of Geonosis gives him this little card and says the Jedi cannot find our plans for our ultimate weapon, and hands it to him. And Dooku says, I will take the plans with me to Coruscant. They will be much safer there with my master. And he pushes a button, and it's the schematics of the Death Star.
Oh! What?
And then we get to have Star Wars patriotism because they start playing the Valiant theme, and they're just blowing up like a bunch of droids wholesale with a bunch of gunships flying over the battlefield. And for whatever reason, I was about to say for whatever reason, but then I remember there was a thing that actually caused it. They have those guns destroy a Federation pod, and it falls, and we have that huge sandstorm erupt, and the clones are just walking through, blasting the droids through the sand.
That's one of my favorite scenes in the movie. Just with the sand distorting all the views, and you can see the blue and the red fire from the blasters distorting across the screen while the clones are advancing. It's beautiful cinema.
Yes,
beautiful.
So great, so beautiful. It's great.
Give me more of that.
And then Christopher Lee tries to get away during this point, and one of the stupidest inconsistencies that I love/hate during this scene is they find him and they're chasing him in the gunship, And Anakin goes, shoot him down, and the clone pilot goes, we're out of rockets, sir. Can't you just use the laser guns?
Right.
I mean, I know that he has those little escorts, but can't you just, take out multiple targets at once?
Well, they are precursors to stormtroopers, so they can't aim.
I guess.
They're saying that the canon fact that they can't aim.
They were able to destroy all those cool little like wheels with the rockets on the battlefield. They were able to do that. That was cool. I don't know. But then Obi-Wan and Anakin get into a shouting match when Padme falls off the ship.
Leave her.
Lower the ship. I can't take Dooku alone. I need you. I don't care. Put the ship down. Oh, it's so obnoxious. I hate these two when they're together. But whatever. They finally get there. The ship blows up, and now we have our big lightsaber battle of the movie.
Yeah.
Is it going to be better than Qui-Gon Obi-Wan versus Darth Maul? Let's get into it. So
We shall see.
So Obi-Wan says, we'll take him together, and Anakin says, I'm going to take him now. And Dooku just just hits him with lightning, just casts him aside. He's like, stupid boy. And he's so cocky and confident. I love it. He's just he's like, my powers are far beyond yours, and I'll back down. And Obi-Wan's just like, I don't think so. And they are they go at it a little bit, but then Dooku is able to disarm him, and he's about to kill him, but then he's blocked by Anakin, and then we thought we were going to get some cool dual wielding from a Gary Stu Anakin, but that didn't really materialize.
It lasted for all. The whole 10 seconds that happened was great.
They made that a focal point of the commercial. But I do like what?
No, I was just gonna comment on. I love Dooku's fighting style, with his whole curved lightsaber, and just because Sir Christopher Lee, he's a very elegant person, and
yes.
I think they really did a great job in conveying that in his lightsaber fighting style.
Oh yeah,
how he uses it kind of like a cutlass.
Yeah,
like he's fencing kind of.
Yes,
pretty like because he was mainly on the defense a lot of the time, and and when he did strike, it was with precision, and he knew what he was doing.
Right. And I love that thing where he's in that saber grapple with Obi-Wan, and he's got that look at him like what are you gonna do?
And I love the part going back to Dooku and Anakin's fight when they cut the cable and the lights went off. How you just saw the glows of the lightsaber. Oh, that was.
And did you notice how with Anakin it kept going from blue to red?
Yep.
It was just George Lucas and his visual shorthand.
Right.
But then he got his arm cut off.
Yeah.
This movie was pretty violent.
But then again, it kind of showed his progression to more machine now than man.
Yes.
That was the first instance.
Why does Dooku look sad there after he does that? I don't understand that. He kind of looks like he's defeated because he's just like, oh, my friends.
Well, I mean, given how close he was to Qui-Gon, I mean, obviously him and Obi-Wan had some sort of relationship,
I guess.
And plus maybe he was like, oh, this poor little kid. I just whipped the crap out of him. Poor baby.
Yeah. But then
you just hear the faint tap, tap, taps of something coming close. It's drawing near. Dooku turns around, and you just see his face go white. And the camera pans around, and who do we see step into the arena?
Count Dooku.
Jedi Master Yoda. And I don't know about you, but for me, I've always wondered what Yoda would be like as a Jedi, and watching the original trilogy, I've always wondered what he would be like in his prime, or in his prime, but with a little more pep in his step. Let's put it that way.
I didn't. I was fine with him just being the puppet on the swamp.
Well,
Just lifting the X-Wing out of the swamp with the E.T. music playing. I was fine with it. I never wondered what he was going to be like with the lightsaber, but now that I know, I'm fine with it.
well, for me, it was really cool to see him whip out that saber and to just see, because because in the original trilogy, you always heard these stories about the great Jedi Master Yoda, how he was so powerful, and it was cool to see, what he could actually do.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And one of the most amazing feats was where he was able to catch Dooku's lightning blast. Because that's something we've never seen before.
Oh, yeah.
And I was fully expecting him to rear that back and just Kamehameha that right back at Dooku,
Which he kind of did.
Kind of.
Yeah, but Dooku blocked it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, but then, the last one, he just absorbs and he's like, much to learn you still have. And then that was when Dooku goes, it is obvious this contest cannot be decided by our knowledge of the Force, but by our skills with the lightsaber. And then that was when Yoda whipped out his lightsaber.
Excuse me while I whip this out.
And he, Frank Oz just started shouting. It didn't last too long.
No. I mean,
I guess Lucas probably knew.
It got expensive. The CGI.
It probably got expensive, but then he was also just like, Jar Jar. People didn't like Jar Jar. I don't know how they're going to react to Yoda with a lightsaber. But whatever, it's fine for what it is. Dooku escapes on that weird ship. I don't know what that whole sail thing is.
Like kite thing.
Yeah. I mean, it's cool. Is that supposed to be a shield or something? I don't know. It looks cool.
I guess.
I guess, but anyway, we got to wrap this up.
Yeah.
He goes to like an abandoned part of Coruscant that looks really cool.
Yeah.
It looks really cool. He lands there, and we see this black-robed figure that we've seen before come out of the shadows, and Dooku goes, "The Force is with us, Master Sidious." It's like, it's the same dude from before, and he goes, "You have done well, Lord Tyrannus," and he goes, "I have good news for you. The war has begun," and he goes, "Everything is going as planned." As planned. And after that, we cut to the Jedi Temple, and Obi-Wan is like, "Do you believe what Dooku said about Sidious controlling the Senate? It doesn't feel right." And Yoda's just like, "Oh, well, Dooku's part of the dark side, so, he lies all the time.
Let's throw it under the rug like we do everything else."
Yeah, it doesn't matter." And then Obi-Wan's just like, "Oh, that was a close call we had on Geonosis. Without that, army that we had, we wouldn't have won." And he's like, "The shroud of the dark side has fallen. Begun. The Clone War has." And then we get the Imperial March. And we see what the Empire is going to become. I mean, yes, it's clones, it's Republic Star Cruisers, and it's those weird walkers that I don't really like, but if you replace them all with stormtroopers, Star Destroyers...
Well, it's the precursor to all of that.
Yeah, and AT-ATs, and you imagine the Emperor and Vader up on that balcony. That could have been a scene out of the original trilogy if it had been made in 2002.
And it was really crazy just to see, how much the Republic morphed into the Empire throughout the movies.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and it's just like, oh, okay, so this, it's era of peace that we were talking about. It's really became the military-industrial complex, very, very quickly overnight.
It's all one big chess game.
Everything is going as planned. So Palpatine is playing the long game here. And while that all is happening, Annie and Padme get married.
They sneak away to their secret getaway and elope.
And the
It's
Jedi don't
forbidden
think
to
anything
be-
about it. They're just like, oh, where's Anakin? And everyone's just like, he's taking Padme back to Naboo.
Sure.
Oh, fine.
Yeah. Sure, it's taking a long time. Anakin, what you doing there?
He didn't take that commercial travel again, did he? Like we told him not to.
Dang it, Bobby.
Dang it, Bobby. Told you not to elope with that girl.
Told you that girl bad news.
And he's got a robotic arm now.
Yep.
And I don't know, was that a priest or something that they had to come to their little waterfront villa?
Guess all they can get at short notice.
I guess, and you know, they had 2 witnesses.
Yeah.
I don't know.
The droids, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So R2's there recording it, and his memory doesn't get wiped at the end for some odd reason. So I don't know. I like the music.
Yeah.
Their love theme's good.
Yeah. The music makes the movie, man.
Yes.
Like-
Williams just continuously knocks it out of the park,
Mhm.
but overall, there's so many things with this movie that could have just been improved upon. But George,
Improved or cut out or
George,
shortened.
George, Georgie, Mom.
It's the summer of George. But yeah, despite its qualms, I think this movie does do a lot of good for the overall story. It sets pieces into place that needs to be set. And it's a good build up to what we get for next time.
I could probably go my whole life without ever watching this movie again.
Oh yeah, I mean,
I like
don't
episode
disagree with
1.
you.
I like
Yeah.
episode 1 better than this one.
Mhm.
Like I've said, this is my least favorite of the prequels. I mean, like, this is the worst one.
Mhm.
But where it goes in terms of the sequels trilogy, I don't know. I'd have to really think about that one.
Oh, I put it above anything the sequel trilogy did.
But we'll see when we get there. But gonna go ahead and give you guys a little bit of a warning. It's gonna be a little bit of a break again before we get to Revenge of the Sith. But when we come back, we will try to make it worth your while.
We're coming back hard, baby.
Coming back with a bang, and we're gonna Sith things up.
We're gonna Sith things up.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. Well, this is it from the snowy dunes of Hoth. I'm Green Leader 88,
Blue Leader 99.
signing off,
May the Force be with you.
and good night.